Luke chapter 8. I'm reading from the New King James Version of the Bible. Whatever version you have, you can read along with me. The Bible reads, "Now a woman having a flow of blood for 12 years, who had spent all her livelihood on physicians and could not be healed by any, came from behind and touched the border of his garment, and immediately her flow of blood stopped. And Jesus said, 'Who touched me?' When all denied it, Peter and those with him said, 'Master, the multitudes throng and press you, and you say, "Who touched me?" But Jesus said, 'Somebody touched me, for I perceived power going out from me.' Now when the woman saw that she was not hidden, she came trembling and falling down before him. She declared to him in the presence of all the people the reason she had touched him and how she was healed immediately. And he said to her, 'Daughter, be of good cheer. Your faith has made you well. Go in peace.'" Bow your heads with me as we consider the question, is it safe to come out? Is it safe to come out? Father in heaven, we're grateful that you are our shepherd and that you give us everything that we need. Lord, help our experience with you be the same experience we have with others in the church. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. You can be seated. Attachment determines development. So no, you cannot touch your baby too much. You cannot coddle your baby too much, because contact and touch are needed for safety and for growth and for development. Michael was born at 10:22 p.m. and he was clasping my hand at 11:16 p.m., this finger right here. And he was cuddling with mommy at 3:39 a.m. Psychology teaches and confirms what feels instinctual, that babies need contact to be safe, and from that safety, they grow, they attach, and they flourish. In the 1950s, psychologist Harry Harlow separated baby monkeys from their mothers in the famous experiment, and he gave the baby monkeys two substitutes: a wire mother with milk and a cloth mother with warmth. And the monkeys chose comfort over food. They only visited the wire mother long enough to eat, but they clung to the cloth mother 17 hours a day. The wire mother represents functional presence. She has what you need, that is food and sustenance. But the cloth mother represents a safe presence. She has who you are, comfort and warmth. And the conclusion of the experiment shocked the scientific world, that warmth matters more than nourishment. Safety is a biological need. And if babies need safety to grow, how much more do traumatized adults need safety in order to heal? God, I want to be a safe person with a safe presence. I want to be a safe person for anyone that God entrusts to my care. My wife, my family, my clients, anyone that God entrusts to me, I want to be a safe person. I want to be a safe person that doesn't get hijacked by their emotions, reacting and responding to every stimulus that comes my way. I want to be emotionally available to my wife, my children, my child, my friends, and for my patients. I want to experience joy and not be afraid of my surroundings. I want to experience the joy and safety that my son has when he's in my arms and I'm swinging him around and he's yelling yay and hooray, because he feels safe and he knows that I won't drop him. I want to be safe like that. I want to be a safe person, but I also want to have and be a safe presence. But it's hard when you don't understand your own trauma and when you don't understand how your mere presence can trigger someone else's. Our story opens with a nameless woman with a history of trauma. In Luke chapter 8, verse 43, it says, "A woman having a flow of blood for 12 years, spends all of her livelihood on physicians, and she cannot be healed by any. She comes from behind and touches the border of Jesus's garment, and it says immediately her flow of blood stops. This story is the healing account of a nameless woman who bleeds for 12 years, suffers for 12 years, and spends lavishly for 12 years. It says she reaches out and she touches Jesus. This woman survives for 12 years in struggle mode, in survival mode, but something shifts in her mind and she gets her miracle, because in her mind she says, I'm going to get healed or I'm going to die trying. She says in Mark, if I touch the hem of his garment, I know I'll be made whole. She says, I'm going to get healed or I'm going to die trying. She says, I'm going to do my part and reach out and touch his garment, and I believe that God will do his part. I've suffered, I've bled, and I'm spent. I might as well get something for my pain. What Jesus is offering me is better than anything that I have now. I'm better off meeting a man I've never seen than trusting the people that have been in my life who's used me, they've disappointed me, and they've failed me. I'm better off with this rabbi who has an untested and untried treatment than trying another doctor who only profits from my pain. God, if I'm going to die, let me die trying. Let me die trusting. Let me die stretching. If I'm going to do something, let me die while doing it. I don't want to look back on my life and say, what if? I want to look back on my life and say, oh well. She says, if I'm going to get healed, I'm going to try, and if not, I'm going to die trying. My strength has kept me. His grace has sustained me, but my faith will save me. But my faith is not just me believing something and repeating something, it's something that I do. My faith is leaving where I am and going to where he is. That's the thing that saves me. Yes, God can meet you where you are, but God will also meet you on the road. God can meet you where you are, but he also wants to meet you where you're going. God will meet you where you will be. She must follow and press Jesus. God will often meet you when you're on your way. There's a difference between a college quarterback and an NFL quarterback. The difference is where they throw the ball. A college quarterback throws the ball when the receiver is open. The college quarterback waits for the window to open, but the NFL quarterback will throw to get you open. The NFL quarterback will throw the ball where the window will be. The college quarterback waits for the conditions on the field to be right. But the NFL quarterback doesn't throw the ball to where you are. He throws the ball to where the receiver will be. So your healing, your miracle will meet you where you are, yes. But for some of you, your miracle will meet you where you are going. Your miracle will meet you when you're on your way. So that means you can start something and try something and do something before you have the thing in your hand. You might have to start scared and do it trembling and do it bleeding, but some stuff you're going to have to start now and figure it out later. Some things you're going to have to start it now and perfect it later. If you wait for conditions to be right, some of us will never get started. Start the application, write the plan, write the music, start the business, start the podcast, start the YouTube channel. Start something now, even if you're not going to use it or reap a harvest for a dozen years. Ecclesiastes 11:4 says, whoever watches the wind will not plant. Whoever looks at the clouds will not reap. Don't wait for ideal circumstances. Try something now. The woman, she leaves where she is and she tries something new. She leaves and comes up behind Jesus and touches the border of his outer garment. First thing this teaches me is that people will seek help from you if you are a safe person. Verse 43 says, she comes from behind and touches the border of his garment, and immediately her flow of blood stops. This woman leaves an unsafe environment, takes an unsafe journey, risking in an unsafe world, pressing in an unsafe crowd, because Jesus is a safe person. She leaves her unsafe life and takes an unsafe risk because she believes that Jesus is a safe person. She touches the border of one of the tassels on his outer garment. We are told in Numbers chapter 15 that the Israelites were to wear a blue cord on the corner of their garments as a reminder of God's faithfulness, of a reminder of his commandments. And the blue cords that were on the borders of their garments represented heaven, divine authority, and holiness. And Jesus has about maybe 4 tassels connected to his outer garment. This woman's confidence in Jesus is supported by what she hears about him. But when she sees the blue garments, when she sees the blue tassels, she realizes that he is a safe person. She knows that he is safe when she hears reports about him. She says that Jesus is a safe bet because of what she hears. And she calculates that he's a safe person when she sees the blue cords. What she sees in him confirms what she hears about him, because what she hears about him makes her stake her entire existence, her entire life on what she hears. But when she sees him, it makes her press. When she sees him, she knows that he is safe and that she can risk it all when she sees the blue cords. When she sees the blue cords, she says to herself, this is a holy man. This is a holy man, but this is a safe man. He won't be like the doctors that take away from me. He won't abuse me. He won't use me for his own purposes. He won't take my money and he won't increase my pain. If I touch that hem, I know I'll be made whole. Jesus is a safe person. Jesus says in Matthew, come to me, all ye who are weary and who are burdened and heavy laden. And he says, I will give you rest. He says, take my yoke upon you and learn from me. I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. The invitation is given and can be trusted because Jesus is a safe person. I don't know who this is for, but sometimes you need to ask yourself the question, I might be a good person and I might do good things, but am I a safe person? Do people know what they're going to get from me? Can I name my emotions that I'm feeling in any given moment? Am I emotionally reactive to everything that comes my way? Am I emotionally available to those that are close to me? Can I feel anger and joy and love and frustration and fear and not be overwhelmed by it? Am I a safe person? The woman says Jesus is safe because he looks congruent with the things that I hear about him. Here it is, y'all. You can be a safe person and you can help people and you can even heal people, but the job is still unfinished. Verse 45 and 46, after she touches Jesus, her bleeding stops, but Jesus says, who touched me? When all denied it, and Peter and those with him deny it too, they said, Jesus, how can you ask who touched me? The crowds are thronging you. The crowds are pressing you. He says, somebody touched me. I perceived or I knew that power or virtue came out of me. For people that have experienced trauma, questions can make them uneasy. The woman is healed with the touch, and immediately she encounters questions on the getaway. And the question that you have to ask is, why would she want to slip away? Why would she desire to be unknown? When you read Leviticus 15, it gives instructions on how the Jewish believer, how the Jewish person is supposed to handle bodily fluids. And the instructions are for men and women. We run past that. The instructions in Leviticus 15 are for men and for women. It says, if you don't stop the discharge or fluids coming from your body, you'll be unclean for 7 days. And if you cannot stop the bleeding, then you will be unclean until it stops. So you would think that her journey stops when her bleeding stops. Here's the critical issue. When she touches Jesus, Jesus stops the bleeding. But she does not stop being unclean. She has to wait another 7 days and jump through more Levitical hoops just to be restored. Healing stopped the bleeding, but the law still called her unclean. The tension in the text is that when you look at the book of Leviticus, that the bleeding stops the process, but it's not finished yet. She has to wait 7 more days. Then she has to bring an offering. She has to go to the priest, and the priest will only declare her clean on the 8th day. In other words, she can be healed, but not yet be whole. Healing and wholeness are not the same thing. You can be cured in your private parts, but still condemned in your public parts. You can be healed and still be hidden. You can be delivered, but still disenfranchised. You can be healed from the sickness, but still try to recover from the shame. You can be healed from the addiction and still trying to rebuild the life that it tore apart. You can be healed from the divorce, but still learning to try to trust again. You can be healed from what they did, but you can still carry the scars of how it made you feel. There's a difference between being healed and being whole. There's a difference between being healed and being whole. Healing means the bleeding stops, but wholeness means your life has been restored. Healing is when pain leaves the body, but wholeness is when pain leaves your memory. Healing fixes the condition, but wholeness fixes the identity. Some of us are living in a space between healing and wholeness. Our bleeding has stopped, but our life still is not put back together yet. Our crisis is over, but our confidence has not returned. Our storm has passed, but our spirit and our mind is still learning how to breathe again. Healing fixes the condition, but wholeness restores the life. You can be healed, but still not be whole. Wholeness takes time. You can be healed with a touch from Jesus, but it might take your entire life to get whole. Jesus may have healed your body, but you might need some therapy and medication and a safe support group to get wholeness of your mind. Watch out for people who are healed, but they don't know that they're not whole. You will need safe people and a safe environment, but that will take time. No wonder she tried to slip away. No wonder she tried to be anonymous. She still had a 7-day waiting period, but Jesus said, "Who touched me?" Verse 47 teaches me that we need to be a safe person, but we also need to be a safe presence. And she found both in Jesus. Verse 47 says, when she sees that she's not hidden, she comes trembling and falls down before him and declares to him in the presence of all the people the reason she touches him, and how she is healed immediately. This woman has forced visibility. She has forced transparency and forced vulnerability. She is triggered on many levels, even though she's not bleeding anymore. The questions trigger her, the crowd triggers her, the pressure triggers her. In response to the questions, it says she comes trembling, she comes afraid, she comes unwilling. Why would she be trembling? Maybe she's being triggered even in a healed state. She's healed, but she's not whole. Sometimes people who experience trauma, they have problems with questions. They have problems with crowds. And here's what's going to mess you up, because it messed me up. When you read the book, The Body Keeps the Score, you learn that sometimes they even have problems with peace and quiet. She's been in survival mode for 12 years. Yes, she has post-traumatic stress disorder, but she might also have a low score on what they call post-traumatic growth inventory. When you look at that inventory of questions, you have to ask the question, how has the trauma affected my ability to grow and adapt and cope? Not with trauma, not with stress, but with peace, with quiet, and with joy. Sometimes people with traumatic backgrounds, yes, they have problems with questions and problems with crowds, but sometimes they have problems with peace. Sometimes they have problems with settling down. Their nervous system is always on. Unhealed trauma can trigger you even when the environment is quiet and safe. Your body has kept the score, but you don't trust everybody, even if they're safe. We're healed, but we're not whole. I remember my best friend, Tim. I was in California, and he was in Reno. He was a hospital chaplain. I was a hospice chaplain. And he asked, could I help him find a job? I said, well, that's what I do. So he got a couple of interviews, and he got a couple of offers. And I'm hoping he'll take the job a couple hours from me. We call that positive distance, because I knew he had a cat, and I didn't like cats. When he's like, God is leading me not for the job that's an hour and a half away. I want the job that's near you. And I'm like, God, if he wants the job near me, he's going to ask to be my roommate, and I don't want to deal with that cat. Y'all, I had to fast and pray for at least 2 days because I knew that cat had issues. And we got the apartment, and we brought the cat to our new apartment, luxury apartment. We got new pillows and a new place for her to sleep. We got the litter box and new toys. We were safe people with a safe environment. We brought the cat to the safe apartment, and when she came in the door, she's looking around, scanning the room. We could feel that her whole body was tense. And I went in to try to comfort her, to try to pet her. When I put my hand near her face, she flinched. And her face got tense. And the scanning eyes was looking all around it. It challenged my question. The question isn't what's wrong with you. The question is what happened to you. We ask the question, why did she try to slip away? Why don't we know her name? Why did she answer a question that Jesus never asked? Why did she come trembling? Why do we put the burdens of our questions on people that are already traumatized? Those are the wrong questions. The question isn't what's wrong with you. The question is what happened to you. Being a safe person in a safe place means believing someone's answers and someone's story and letting them not answer all of your questions. God, teach me how to be a safe person with a safe presence. A safe presence that doesn't need to know all of the details. A safe presence that sits with you and doesn't judge you or condemn you. A safe presence that says, I am not curious. I don't need to know all the details and the tea. I don't need to know. We have a habit of wanting to be detectives when God has called us to be disciples. We think that in order to help someone, we have to interrogate them. We think that if we don't know all of the facts, we can't offer intercessory prayer. Sometimes intercessory prayer is a shield for gossip. Not us, but the church down the street. Intimacy does not always require information. We need the ministry of a closed mouth. Ministry of a closed mouth. Yes, we serve a God who is a very present help, but he's not a very inquisitive judge. When the prodigal son was still a far way off and was returning home, the father did not wait for a deposition from the elders. He did not question the boy saying, where did the money go? Who were you hanging out with? He just opened his arms and covered his son. Being a safe presence is more important than being curious and getting all the details. Someone's healing and wholeness is more important than your curiosity. No, you do not need to fill in all the details on the group chat. A safe person is a landing strip, not a witness stand. A safe person is a buffer, not a biographer. God, give us the ministry of the closed mouth and give us the ministry of the unasked question. Sometimes the holiest thing you can do is let a person not answer you. You see, we want to know the who, the what, the where, the why, and the when, but God says just give them the here and now. Because when you demand to know every detail, you're not offering refuge, you're offering rent. You're making them pay for your presence with their pain. But a safe presence says, I believe your story, even the parts that I don't know. I believe your answers, even the ones that don't make sense to me. I am satisfied with your silence. Job's friends were doing fine for 7 days when they sat in silence. But as soon as they opened their mouths to explain his pain, as soon as they opened his mouth to weaponize their faith, they became unsafe. God, teach us how to sit with suffering people. Teach us how to sit in silence. Teach us how to be a shadow that doesn't demand light. Teach us how to be a wall that doesn't demand what's on the other side. Teach us to be a witness where we see past their past, but we provide for what they need in the now. God, help us to be safe people and to provide a safe presence. People who say you don't have to explain to me your scars in order for me to bandage your wounds. You don't have to justify your tears to me in order for me to hand you a tissue. I do not need to know, I just need to be here. Jesus is a safe person with a safe presence, but he finishes the encounter with a benediction, giving her safe passage. He says to her, daughter, be of good cheer. Your faith has saved you. Go in peace. Even if she waits 7 days, she is biologically new, but she's still not whole. If a legalistic detective finds out she was in the crowd, healed and not whole, this legalistic detective would label her unclean, and the healing process would not matter. They would stone her for being unclean. So when Jesus asks, who touched me, it wasn't to bust her for being unclean. It was to accelerate her clock. He moves her from the 7-day waiting period of the law into the immediate presence of grace when he says, daughter, go in peace. Jesus doesn't just heal her body, he restores her identity, and he doesn't make that a secret. They didn't know her name. They labeled her. They profited from her pain, but Jesus doesn't call her woman, he calls her daughter. For 12 years, nobody called her daughter. Her husband may have left her. They called her unclean. They called her contaminated. They called her a problem. They called her a liability. But Jesus calls her family. He calls her daughter. The safest place in the world sometimes isn't God's people, but it's when you're in the presence of Jesus and he calls you his own. Jesus doesn't just heal people, but he creates a space where the healed can become whole. God, I want to be a safe person with a safe presence. But this teaches me that life might give you a safe environment, might give you safe people with safe presence, but the safest place you can be is in the arms of Jesus. When I became a parent, I learned it's one thing for your kid to be in your hands. It's another thing for them to be in your arms. When I pick Michael up, I pick him up with my hands, but I secure him with my arms. When I take him out of the car, I put my hands beneath his shoulders, but I hold him close to my chest. He's safe in my hands, but the goal is for him to be in my arms. Being safe in my hands means I'm strong enough to carry you. But being safe in my arms means I'm soft enough to cradle you. Being safe in my hands speaks to my ability, but being safe in my arms speaks to intimacy. When he's trying to sleep, he asks for a hug, and sometimes I'll take my hand and put it on him. He's not asking for my hand. He's asking for my arm. He'll take my hand and he'll pull my whole arm to cover his body. Being in my hands means I'm a strong person, but being in my arms means I'm a safe person. Being in my hands means that I have a strong presence, but being in my arms means that I am a safe presence. God, help me to be a person where you can be safe in my hands and safe in my arms. Being safe in my hands speaks to competence. It says I can hold you up. I can fix the problem. I can pay the bill. And we are good at that. But being safe in my arms speaks to compassion. It says I can hold you close. I can fill your heart. I can provide sanctuary for you. The physician had hands. It says she was under the hands of many physicians. They poked her for 12 years. They prodded her for 12 years, but they had no arms of compassion. Jesus had power in his hands to stop the blood, but he has peace in his arms to start her life again. The hands of God can deal with your condition, but the arms of God can deal with your soul. The hands of God can fix what is broken in your life, but the arms of God can hold what has been broken. The hands of God bring deliverance, but the arms of God bring rest. The hands stop the bleeding, but his arms can stop the fear. The hands healed her body, but his arms restored her identity. It's one thing for God to touch you with his power, but it's another thing for God to hold you in his presence. His hands say, I can fix it, but his arm says, you are safe. His hands say, I'm strong enough to carry you, but his arms say, I'm gentle enough to comfort you. You're safe in his hands. That can heal you. But when you get safe in his arms, that can make you whole. Some people have trauma, and they need safe people and safe environments to provide a safe presence. But most of us with a traumatic background, we need more than Jesus. Most of us need therapy and a support group to become whole. There's many people that are safe and they mean well. They might even be pastors or counselors or chaplains. We're healed in many parts of our lives, but we're not whole in every part of our lives.